Well, as you can see from that video, we had the engine sitting in the Yugo, and we had to get it out of the way so that we could do our painting and getting the engine bay ready to put the engine back in for the final time. By the end of this video, the engine will be in the engine bay for the final time, or at least under my ownership. So what we've got to do is we've got to get underneath the hood, get it cleaned up, and get it prepped for painting. Let me show you what we're going to do. So the areas that we're concerned about getting painted are any of the stuff that we've done the repairs on, any of these seams where I ground down any of the loose paint, all up and around both of these strut towers, and then all up in front on this rad support. The reason why we scraped all that off was because, well, the paint was a little bit loose and flaky. So we've got some Scotch-Brite. We're gonna go through and clean up all the rust encapsulator that we sprayed in there earlier, and then we are going to prime it. We're gonna hit it with some rock guard. And what we've got for primer is some of this one step, so it's an etching primer. And then we've got some of this Worth gravel guard, which we're gonna spray in to help treat all of these areas. And then once all that is dry, we've got some color matched Yugo red. That's right, I was able to get a paint code off the car. I believe it's 120 torch red or something like that, fire red, something red anyways. Called up my local CarQuest. They mix this up via the paint code. So we got a spray bomb, and we'll get that rock guard or gravel guard covered up, and the engine compartment will look like new. So first thing I'm gonna do is get this thing scuffed up and cleaned up and get it ready for some primer. All right, so we've got that all scuffed up and clean. We got it all wiped down, and all the surfaces that we're going to paint, we scuffed with the Scotch-Brite. We've got this little piece of cardboard we're going to use to kind of hide the wires so that when we spray some primer and stuff, it doesn't get all over the wires. And like I said, we're only going to be doing a few spots. We're not doing the whole undercarriage. So if we have enough red paint left over when it's all said and done, well, we'll spray out what hasn't been sprayed. In the meantime, we've got to get some primer sprayed on here, so I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. So we've got the primer on. We've covered up all the spots that we repaired, the welds, as well as any of the bare metal that we ground up. I guess I forgot that spot right there. We'll have to spray that. And on top of the strut mounts and down all these seams, as well as in the headlight buckets where we kind of ground down a little bit of loose scale. Once that's flashed over, we'll be able to use the gravel guard, or rock guard as some people call it, to kind of get in those cracks up and around here. And come over here, and I don't want to say hide, because it's not like I'm trying to hide anything, but at least make it look a little better than it does with that gravel guard. So a little bit of texture hides a lot of sin. You guys know that if you're doing body work. So we're going to get to that once this flash is over. We'll be right back with you. Okay, the gravel guard is in there, and as you can tell, it's got some texture to it now. And down here where we welded, it just kind of, you know, covers up my mess. I ended up doing the firewall as well, just to kind of get through there. Well, that'll be covered up with some red paint if we have enough. If not, I'm going to focus on all these areas here that are going to be visible at least. And we kind of come up in here on the fenders as well, down along the frame rail, and inside this part where we scratched off all the loose paint. But I think it looks pretty good. But maybe I should leave it black. What do you guys think? Do you like the black in the engine compartment, or should I use my Yugo red to go through and make this look a little prettier? Let me know down in the comment section down below if you guys like the rock guard look, the black, or if you want the red. Anyways, this stuff's going to take quite a while to set up. I've got the heat on here in the garage, so hopefully within the next hour or so this will be ready. It'll be set up enough that we can spray some black, maybe red. I mean, by the time you guys watch this, I'll have done what I've done anyway. But when you come back, it will be done, and we'll see if I did what you would have recommended. Anyways, we'll be right back. Anyway, it's Sunday morning. It is a chilly one. I didn't get out to turn the heat on in the garage, but the paint looks like it's dry in the Yugo. Let's take a look. So we did end up going with the red, as you saw in the video, and it's got a little bit of a texture feel to it. And I even painted up the engine mounts and the transmission mount, which is right there. And now the trick is to get the engine setting back in there without scratching the paint, because I know over here, the transmission tends to want to drag against that frame rail. So we're going to do our best not to scratch the paint, get this thing set in here. Maybe we angle the transmission downwards a little bit more than we have it. Anyway, I'm going to get the tripod set up and we'll get this thing stuck back in there. Okay, as you can see, we've got the engine back in the car for the final time. Fingers crossed. As you may or may not have been able to tell from the time lapse, something was hanging us up over here on the passenger side. Let me show you what it was. So way down in here, there is one lonely bolt right there. And that one lonely bolt can only be put in before the engine goes in, because it goes in this way. And although I had it in the hole, I didn't have it tight. So it was sticking out about 3/4 of an inch, causing this side not to want to go down. Therefore, I couldn't jack this side up level to get the transmission jack. The first time I did a trial run setting this in here, literally probably less than 5 minutes, I was done. But we've got the transmission jack in place here. We've got the engine mount in place here. And there is one more that mounts right down there. There's 2 bolts on that bracket. It goes underneath the engine and mounts back on the firewall. So we'll get that done once we get up underneath the car. But as it sits right now, there's absolutely zero tension on that chain. The engine's sitting in the car all by itself. So this is where we are. Engine bay painted. Engine is in the car for the final time. Now, this is one of the last videos on this car. The last thing that we've really got to do is put the axles in, hook up all the wiring, replace the fuel lines and the heater hose on the back that I cut when I was yanking it out of there. And we should be able to start this thing up. Once we do that, we're going to take it for a test drive, as long as the roads aren't all covered in salt and the weather's not bad, and just make sure that everything is working the way that it should. I'm glad that you guys have stuck through to this point. I know there's a lot of comments and from the last video saying how disappointed they are with me kind of getting done with this project, but I'm just not into it. So if we can find ourselves a buyer, again, I will leave right here. I will leave my email address. If you guys are interested, send me an email. We'll talk about what all I've done to it. You can go back and watch all my previous videos to see what we did when we first bought the car. I drove it. We were able to get out on the highway, top it out at about 88 miles an hour. And, some of you guys are going to be asking, well, Jason, just come clean. Tell us what you want for the car. I want to get $5,000 Canadian for this car. And I don't know what that works out to in today's dollars, but I'll flash it up here on the screen in US dollars. And you can tell me whether or not you think it's worth it or not. Whether it is worth it or not, that's what I want out of the car. There's not very many of these around in this kind of condition that run and drive. This one's going to run and drive. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. There's going to be a couple more videos coming out on this car, and I will do an official for sale video, so long as I don't get money in my hand before. So make sure you stay tuned. Guys, stay focused on the windshield, not the rear view mirror. I love you guys. God bless. Oh, don't forget to check out MagRag. There's a link in the description down below. It's a rag. Got a magnet in it. When you're working, it's always where you need it. Thanks, guys.